Now, football. Okay. I'm a Melbourne supporter, but I still don't get it. There was no way Jack Trengove should have been rubbed out for 3 weeks for a tackle. He pinned a bloke, brought him to the ground. That's what you're supposed to do. This would say to me, players can't tackle anymore. He gets 3 weeks, he's got no priors. Remember Campbell Brown elbowed a bloke in the head behind play, or in the upper body behind play. Long list of priors. He got 2 weeks. And Lee Montagna, possibly 2 weeks, possibly 1, for bumping a bloke with an injured shoulder, a low act. But this Trengove decision is just stupid. There wasn't even a free kick awarded, and he gets 3 weeks. The Melbourne players took to Twitter last night, which is a bit unusual. And I'd like some views on it. 96900 693 13 13 32. I think if a decision like this sort of takes tackling out of the game. Twitter, Jack Trengove sent this. Shattered. Thanks for all the support, everyone. Much appreciated. Let's just smash the ruse. Nathan Jones, you can't be serious. Shattered. Brad Green, the captain. Duty of care. It was the perfect tackle. Russell Robinson, former Melbourne player. What a joke. Matthew Bate, current Melbourne player. Agree with you all. No, need to stand up for him. It's a contact sport. He was only tackling the way we get taught. Matthew Bate further. Can't believe it. Shattered for Trengove. Plays hard and fair. Colin Sylvia. Can't believe it. Missing 3 weeks. Shattering for him and the team. I'm scared to tackle now. Now, is the AFL going to go out and fine them all for making public comments on such a decision? And I know everybody will say I'm a Melbourne supporter, and it's true. And I put that to one side. Was it right or wrong? Graham Bond, 3AW's tribunal expert, understands these things. Bondy.
Good morning, Neil. Yes, I think you put it fairly succinctly there, exactly the way that Jack Trengove put it at the tribunal last night. The players are taught to tackle in this manner. It was what he considered a perfect tackle. It was raised at their match review on Monday morning that it was a perfect tackle. He laid one about 5 seconds after, identical the same. The problem is that what they've done, they've looked at the end result, not at the actual action.
What do you mean they looked at the injury?
The end result was the bloke got concussion.
But that's
are very, very touchy on that.
But that's not the tackler's fault. That's an accident. He didn't intend to give him concussion.
Well, I would believe that it was an accident, but that was my assessment of it. But the problem is that
hang on, Bondy. On that basis, you bump a player, he goes down awkwardly and breaks his leg, and you get suspended.
Well, in the duty of care aspect, and this is the wording now. The duty of care has such a huge bearing. I'm not saying I agree with it now. I'm just explaining why they arrive at these decisions.
Yeah, fair enough.
This duty of care that comes into the rules is just so hard for players to play a contact sport and still maintain this duty of care. That's so hard. The players just don't know how far they can go, because any little incident like this, that there was 80 tackles laid by Melbourne in the game, probably 70 of them were exactly the same. This one, the player hits his head. The reason was his arm was pinned. Well, there's nothing in the rules to say you can't hold a player's arm. What they said was, or the tribunal gave the decision because they believed there was unnecessary force. Now, that's a matter of three people's assessment. That's all it is.
Can he appeal? Is there anything else he can do, or is this it?
Well, he can appeal, but he can only appeal on grounds that the decision was manifestly unjust and that a reasonable group of people wouldn't have arrived at that decision.
Okay.
Now, they're not going to go against three former players, or they're going to try and appeal it on some point of law. Now, I don't think there was any discrepancies in the legal aspects last night. Ian Finlay is a very good player advocate. He raised the case. They gave Kelly O'Donnell's evidence, who gave evidence to the effect that this is how the players are trained to tackle. And it's a really, really tough. I feel sorry for him because I believe he's laid the perfect tackle. The umpire's called play on, and he disposed of the player with the ball. That's all he can do.
And just quickly, the Melbourne players criticising it on Twitter, could they be charged?
Well, I suppose there are rules and there are rules. I think the AFL will let this one go because I think social media is one of those things now that they're not likely to react to. If it was in a press conference open to everybody, they might have done something. But I think they'll let this one by because I'm sure the players like Jack Trengove, a lot of other people, would be very upset with this decision.
Thank you, Bondi. Graham Bond, our tribunal expert. That's the expert. That's how it all happened. What does it all mean? Brian Taylor, 3AW's chief footy commentator. Good morning.
Good morning, Neil. Just on that last point there, players are not allowed to comment on tribunal or match review decisions, so I'd imagine there will be some repercussions out of the Twitter stuff.
Well, from the Melbourne captain down, they're bagging it on Twitter. Well, what do you think? Is this duty of care? Was it Does the decision change things?
Look, it's just manifestly unjust. It's a wrong decision. It's an outright wrong decision based on the injury on the end of it. Your analogy, Neil, that you can tackle someone, push them to the ground, and they break their leg in half or whatever. I mean, that can happen. And so what are they going to do it on the injury sustained rather than the actual action in the tackling? The tackle, number one, was a perfect tackle. Number two, he wasn't to know the ball had actually spilt out. I mean, he can consider himself very unlucky on both of those counts. This is a wrong decision, and I'll absolutely guarantee that any tackle that is made over this weekend, the same type of tackle, will not be referred to the match review panel, because I reckon deep down they know they've got it wrong. They can't undo it, though.
Well, maybe Melbourne can appeal. But a caller has said Mumford got the same last year for tackling Ablett. Was it the same?
I can't remember the Mumford incident, but what I do know is that Campbell Brown got 2 weeks for elbowing a guy in the head behind the play. He got 2 weeks for that. This guy's got 3 weeks.
Yeah, and this kid's got no priors. It's Campbell Brown, by any definition's got a few.
This is 3 weeks. Campbell Brown got 2 weeks for an act that is just not in context of what football is about these days. It is a joke. I just don't get how it works. I know Bondi's just been through the legalities of how the match review panel works, but I reckon they've got to go back and redesign those because I reckon they're now outdated.
And the other thing, quickly, Brian, Lee Montagna and his bump on the injured Carlton player, Ed Curnow.
Look, very unfair.
Awful thing to do.
Yeah, awful thing to do. I agree with Glenn Archer. Once you receive an injury and you're going off the ground immediately, and you can see the player's injured, let him go and get assessed. When he came back on, he was fair game. So, for instance, Kaczynski, when he bumped the wrong shoulder and he should have got the injured one, I have no problem with that because he's put himself back into the field of play and he's saying he's ready to go. But that was not something that I reckon Joe Montagna would be proud of.